Hi guys, it's Brad here. I want to talk a little bit here about shrink tubing and how you use it to strengthen the landing gear on your Blade SR120. So the landing gear on SR120 you can see is pretty thin, right? And there's a lot of fixes out there and different kinds of things with it. And you'll read about people using shrink tubing. And it occurred to me that perhaps not everybody knows what shrink tubing is, and so I'm just going to kind of show you some and how you might use it. So this shrink tubing here is just this black tubing. You can see it here. I have 3 different diameters. It's just hollow at this point here. And it's just kind of a special tube that when it gets hot, it actually shrinks. So you can see the end right there that I had heated it up, and I'll show you how that works, and it shrinks down. It only shrinks to a certain point, all right? After that, then it won't go anymore. And it doesn't burn or anything, it just kind of goes on down. So I can show you. So here's a piece right here, and I just have a lighter, okay? So I'm just gonna light that, and we'll see, you can see this kind of work here. I just kind of put it on there a little bit. A little smoke comes off, and you can see how that got smaller on the end there like that, okay? Yeah, I can hold it up. So with the heat, it shrinks on down, and when it does that, then it gets, well, it's still kind of hot there, but it gets a little stiffer, a little stronger, and things too. So what you can do is you can use that to strengthen the landing gear on your Blade SR120. The one extra thing I'm kind of going to add here, though, is that how do you get it on here, right? Well, you can slide it over the top. When you do that, though, you need a piece that's big enough to slide up over the top, okay? So I can kind of show that. You just kind of put it on here, and I have this piece already cut to size, and I'll show you. So let's kind of slid that over the top, and you can put it on there, and it's on, but it's pretty big. It's not going to shrink all the way down to the thin little plastic part that's the landing gear. So it'll shrink, but it'll still be kind of loose on there. So what I have come up with and sharing with you is actually you can fill the gap with just some wire. Now this is just regular, it's 18 gauge. This happens to be stranded wire. It can bend and things, and it's just wire. And so the beauty of it is it will fill in the gap. It can actually go inside here with the landing gear, and I'll show you. And it fills that space in, and now the shrink tubing will come down, and there's enough volume inside, it will shrink and make the whole thing tight. The cool thing about the wire additionally is it will add some strength to it. So that's a benefit for you. For cutting the wire, what I do, you have the landing gear. I just cut a piece beforehand that is just about the length of the standing piece right here. So you can kind of see how I have that up from the top to the bottom. Now let's take some wire cutters here, and you just kind of come in there, and I just kind of cut a piece of wire. Okay, oops, dropped it. So now what I do with that, and then I already had my shrink tubing piece cut the length. Same thing, you can see how long it is in relationship to the landing gear itself, about the same length. And so you just take that and you slide it on over the top. Okay, and I'll point out down here the landing gear has a little brace on there, and it's wide enough that the shrink tubing will go pretty tight on there. This top part has a bend to it. You can see that, and so as it comes around, that'll be pretty tight. So really we're most concerned just with this straight part. So if I slide it on down, I'm going to take my piece of wire and it's going to slide that on into the tubing here. And you can cut the wire to whatever length you want and position it. What I like to do is I actually like to position that so that it is on the back side here of the landing gear. So then when it shrinks, then I end up with a piece that's kind of a little bit deeper front to back and narrower side to side with it. So I've slipped that wire in there, and now all you have to do is just using the lighter. Now you want to be careful a little bit on this. You're kind of shrinking on down, but this plastic's still inside. If it gets too hot, you will melt the plastic, and so you just apply a little bit of heat and then kind of stop, and I can come back in onto the other side here as well. I'm kind of shrinking on down, and I have some, you can kind of see how it started to shrink there, right? But not all the way. So I can kind of shrink this, and I can kind of shrink this part here, okay? You can bring that on down, and that's kind of being careful. I don't want to melt my plastic. You can kind of see that. I just put a little heat and I stop and I wait. Okay, so now this is actually shrank all the way. Like I said, it only shrinks so far. It's still kind of hot on my fingers. But now what we have, you can see this brace on there, and like I said, it's thicker front to back. Left to right, it's a little thinner on there. So now that piece of landing gear is pretty strong, as well as it has some give into it because of that wire. So let me show you how it looks when I have it on the final helicopter. So my helicopter right now, that's what I use. You can see it on there, right? You know, you can kind of look at this from the front, right? And a little bit on the other side. So it still blends really nice. It gives you a nice strong piece of landing gear. I've tested this a few times already, and I've been pretty happy with it. So there you go. You have your basic shrink tubing, your basic piece of wire, flame, cutter, and landing gear. And you just slide it on there, cut the wire to length, put it in, heat it up, boom, you're done. All right, hopefully this was a benefit for you, and if you have any questions or whatnot, drop me a line down below and we'll see what we can do. Bye.